in like the 90s became the 5 guys in 2022. They're all the worst guys.
I'm quite sure. Would you mind refreshing?
It
doesn't matter who else
you choose.
You son of a bitch.
Yes.
You win again.
I think
Perfect.
he'll be
Yeah.
okay because he's
So
had
we're
the
going to talk
coast,
about
so
Saturday
we can
and
just
Sunday.
get on.
By that I mean mostly
We can
Sunday,
have
because Saturday
Tommy on
is a
later.
disaster.
Of course.
Alex did a 3.5-hour show.
Thank you.
It was mostly pre-recorded with some guests, and I don't really care.
No.
But before we get into that, Jordan, let's take a little moment to say hello to some new Wong.
Oh, that's great.
So first, happy birthday, Emmett Liv. Thank you so much, Jordan. Al Policy Wong.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, thank you so much, Totoro. You are now a Policy Wong.
Oh, thank you very much.
I almost read this incorrectly, but I did not. So thank you so much to Taylor W. You are now a Policy Wong.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, Little Blue Squid. Thank you so much. You are now a Policy Wong.
Thank you very much.
And we got a technocrat here from next Jordan. So actually, this is the one that I almost read as Kurt Quesadilla. But that is not correct. But I'm not going to read his last name. So anyway,
Thank you.
Kurt Q,
Pardon?
thank you so
You're
much.
talking to me?
You are now a technocrat.
More stars. Go home to your mother and tell her you're brilliant.
Someone sodomites into a book.
Daddy Shark. Jar
No,
Jar
I
Binks
consider mine
is a
like starving
Caribbean
mystery.
black accent. He's a loser, little titty baby. I don't want to hate black people. I renounce Jesus Christ.
Thank you so much, Kurt.
Yeah, was that Kurt Quetzalcoatl? Was
No.
it the ancient god of the Mayans?
I
Was that
feel like anytime I see a Q and then more than like 3 letters,
Yeah.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah, that's fair.
Scanning it is difficult.
That is fair. That is fair.
But hey, here we are. Alex came back the very next day. Sorry. Alex came back on Saturday and did his nonsense.
Uh-huh.
And here's the thing, man. It's a bummer because he's gone for quite a while, and then he comes back as if nothing happened, and he just is like, I was on a workcation.
What?
Yeah.
You lost $1 billion.
Workcation.
You can't come back from losing $1 billion and be like, all right, head down. Let's just get back to work.
But he does do this a bit.
Sure.
I mean, I feel like we see him a lot of times if things are bad, it's like, well, let's get one last vacation in here. So I don't fully know what he was up to or what he was doing, but I would assume it was taking care of some
Numerous legal matters.
yeah, difficult business.
Yeah, I would argue that.
But
would do
things
that.
happen in the world, and Alex cannot stay away for long.
Absolutely not.
What happens, let's say, when someone breaks into Nancy Pelosi's house?
Can't think of anything.
Alex needs to get back in studio.
That's a good point.
So he decided to cover this story early and sensationally.
We have Nancy Pelosi's husband being attacked with a hammer and them trying to say that he's a Trump supporter or a QAnon person. But now we have the audio we'll play in just a moment. The 911 call. Police dispatch. Paul Pelosi said he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is
Things are
David
going
and he
on
is a
now.
friend.
Just showed those two.
He was in his underwear. They were naked. The stuff was broken inside, not broken into. And so something very interesting going on there with Mr. or Herr, Monsieur Pelosi.
I'm sorry,
We'll
what?
be getting into all of that here today.
Throw in Senor, why not?
Yeah,
Just a
did he
bunch
just
of-
add German and French in
Yeah,
there?
he likes to have fun.
All right.
So it's not too surprising to see Alex being pretty on top of the Pelosi conspiracy theories, and also not surprising to see him lying about the situation. He doesn't have the audio of the 911 call. That's just entirely made up, and he's basing his reporting on faulty assumptions that he just saw in memes or on dumb blogs. In reality, Pelosi was the victim of a home invasion, and the person was holding him hostage with a hammer, but he was, that guy who came in, David DePape, was really more interested in his wife.
Yeah.
Mr. Pelosi was able to convince the guy to let him use the bathroom where his phone was charging, and he made a call to police, being careful to speak in language that wouldn't set off alarms for the guy with a hammer.
Yeah.
Pelosi did convey to 911 that the guy's name was David, specifically that the guy had said that his name was David. He also was clear that he didn't know who he was and that he planned to wait there for his wife to arrive. Just after police arrived, David hit Pelosi with the hammer and was arrested. In the ambulance, Pelosi told Officer Ariane Starks that he, quote, had never seen DePape before. The glass was not broken outward. A witness who was working security at the neighboring address, nearby house, saw, quote, an individual in all black carrying a large black bag on his back walking near the Pelosi residence. He, quote, then heard what sounded like banging on either a door or car. Also, in a post-arrest interview, DePape admitted that he, quote, broke into the house through a glass door, which was a difficult task that required the use of a hammer.
Yeah.
DePape's interview is consistent with Pelosi's version of events in that they didn't know each other, and that DePape had arrived, broken in, and demanded to know where Nancy was. DePape made it clearer to police that he wanted to hold her hostage, and that if she lied to him, he would break her kneecaps, so she would have to be, quote, wheeled into Congress, which would show other members of Congress there were consequences to actions.
Okay.
It's clear from his admissions to police, from his actions, and from his writing prior to the attack that David DePape is a far-right extremist who was at best attempting to hold the Speaker of the House hostage and maim her.
Yeah.
It's very obvious why people across the right-wing media ecosystem, from Alex to Matt Walsh to Glenn Greenwald, have tried to run interference on this story and craft a different narrative out of it, and that's because it's a direct result of their ideology and rhetoric. They know that, and they welcome it. But in order to keep the business running, it's key to disown your children once they take action. That's all that's going on
Right.
here.
Right,
It's
right,
very,
right.
very repetitive. We've seen this a million times.
Yeah. It's a good thing, though, that when we see this happen, no one does anything about it. I appreciate that the most, because I would be really sad if this didn't continue to happen forever and ever in perpetuity. You know, that would be a real bummer if somebody
Do you think that would be
did
sad?
something.
Do you think it'd be sad if this didn't continue forever?
Oh, it'd be terrible.
I have great news.
Oh, that's good news, because, nobody's going to do anything about it, which is amazing.
It's tough. I mean,
It's amazing.
on the one hand, I kind of agree, and I feel your laments.
Sure.
But on the other hand, I'm not really fully certain I know what can be done.
Yeah.
I don't know what should be done necessarily.
It's a good thing that nobody has ever put out, say, a list of people for whom this type of action would be valuable. It's a good thing nobody's ever been like, hey, here's, let's say, hit list of some sort, of the people that need to be taken care of.
Or, it's a good thing that someone like Alex has never, told people to make lists of globalists in their town.
Absolutely.
That they can take care of if need be.
Yeah. Just be prepared.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sign of, it's an escalation,
Yeah.
it feels like.
I'm very fascinated by this dude's plan. That's what fascinates me most about this whole thing. How does he think this goes if it goes the best it can?
Well, I think he understood, to whatever extent he could, that it wasn't going to go good.
No. There was no end where he's like innocent of something.
I think-
He's
I think the end-
suiciding.
He understood that the end result was probably going to be him in prison.
Right.
But on the way there, he could maim Nancy
Exactly.
Pelosi in a way that would send a message to the rest of Congress.
Right.
Yes,
I get that.
that's-
I'm just fascinated by that idea of like, this is what I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a weird thing. I'm gonna go to the Speaker of the House's home with a hammer.
Right.
It's just fascinating to me.
Yeah.
It just is.
It's a mess.
Yep.
So anyway, Alex said he had 911 call footage, audio.
Obviously.
He doesn't. He has something else.
Here is the audio that's posted in the article on Infowars.com. Police dispatch Paul Pelosi said he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and he is a friend. Here it is.
Another 4-car pay priority 910, 640 Broadway, copy Scott. RP stated there's a male in the home that he's listening for his thing. RP stated that he doesn't know who the male is, but he advised that his name is David and that he is a friend. RP sounded somewhat confused. Is a friend. RP sounded somewhat confused. So we're backing up.
All right, his name is David and he's a friend, but he doesn't know who he is.
So this isn't a 911 call. This is a dispatcher relaying the information from a 911 call. Also, there's a very clear pronoun reference issue here that is in the heart of this. What this dispatcher is saying is that Pelosi doesn't know who the person is, but the person had said that his name is David and that he is a friend. He wasn't saying that Pelosi considers this guy a friend. He's saying that Pelosi is saying that
see again.
David told him he was a friend.
Right.
It's about as simple as an explanation as that. But Alex has to grasp at whatever straws are there to pretend that this is some kind of fake thing, as opposed
Okay.
to the exact logical conclusion of his worldview.
Streamlabs
And,
keep
I
showing
don't
a
know.
black
Yep.
screen
Yeah.
every now
Yep.
and then.
I mean, it's
I think just
really
because the-
kind of simple, direct. You can draw a
Games
one-to-one
in
line from stochastic
different
terrorism
resolution
to
or just-
terrorism. It's real easy.
No. Here's what we haven't considered.
Oh,
This is a false flag.
ah, shit!
Also, won't
Fix that,
somebody think of
actually.
Rand Paul?
Well, I guess the dude would look good if your wife was Nancy Pelosi. That would turn anybody gay, I would think.
What?
But the whole point is they're trying to frame the American people with this right now as some type of attempted false flag. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm saying they're trying to blame conservative voters. They're calling it a new January 6th, but it gets worse. Senator Rand Paul, who had 6 ribs broken and a lung punctured and is still in serious health problems because of it, the left celebrated when he got physically attacked. He put out a tweet wishing him a speedy recovery and saying political violence should not happen, and it's wrong. The left called him a little bitch.
The left is apparently Rex Chapman on Twitter.
Sure.
So I guess that's,
Got him.
yeah. So if this constitutes a false flag, then the term has entirely lost its meaning. It's just a meaningless catchphrase for Alex to throw out to pop the crowd. It's like his get her done at this point. It
Yep.
just means it's so empty. As for Rand Paul, that wasn't a politically motivated attack at all. He got into a fight with his neighbor Rene Boucher about yard waste. From an NBC News article about Boucher's trial, quote, federal prosecutors said Boucher had enough after he witnessed Paul stack brush into a pile on his own lawn, but near Boucher's property. Boucher then ran onto Paul's property and tackled him. These aren't comparable situations at all, and all Alex is doing is playing a distraction game. But won't you think of poor Rand Paul? Rex Chapman said something mean about it.
I think here's what I'm struggling again. Here's what I'm having a trouble with. Man, that neighbor could just tackle him. What are you doing? What are you doing going into her house with a hammer? Just wait until she's outside and then tackle her.
It is, it is.
Why are there so many elaborate plans? Whenever, if you're just his neighbor, you can be like, hey, those are a bunch of fucking sticks, and then tackle them. They're so easy to attack people.
Those sticks are too close to my yard.
So easy.
It is a shocking lack of functional security.
Yeah.
You're not wrong about that. It's a little upsetting.
Yeah.
So we got news on a topic that we're all so used to hearing about. Once an episode, maybe.
Of course.
Something is really severe, and then it's not. It's the COVID narrative of the day.
Can't find that news, actually. Just want to refresh that for me. Oh, here it is. Daniel, it's here.
Today's COVID bombshell. We've reached the COVID narrative of the day.
It's over.
Meanwhile, flu, they said, was gone for 2 years. Every kind has COVID. It was shot. Now, so far, the flu season is more severe than it's been in 13 years. There's all these deaths of the vaccinated, and they're calling it the flu.
The flu wasn't gone. It was just that when Alex was starting to get really going with his COVID death conspiracy theories, that was right when flu season was ending. So he made a really big deal out of how the CDC was going to stop monitoring flu deaths. He settled on that as a fake explanation for that things back then, and he hasn't thought about it since. And he just hasn't updated talking points.
Yeah.
Even so, in the 2021 flu season, it was estimated that the flu resulted in between 8 and 13 million cases and between 5,000 and 14,000 deaths. It was relatively mild, as was the 2020 season, most likely because of the broad adoption of COVID mitigation strategies like social distancing and wearing masks. People have seemed to decide that shit is all done with, so whatever benefit that was bringing about is gone. One variable that's likely unrelated to human behavior patterns is that the flu is coming early this year, and it looks like this year the H3N2 strain that's spreading is fairly severe. That's unlucky, partially because about 26 million less people have gotten the flu vaccine than did in 2020, which conceivably could be at least in part attributed to the meteoric rise of anti-vax rhetoric and belief in the intervening years, pushed by folks like Alex. Much of the influence that Alex and his ilk have put into the world have contributed to the pretty bleak situation we see in front of us in terms of flu. But naturally, when things get bad, it'll just be reported to the audience as evidence that he was right all along, because he just gets to claim that flu deaths are secretly COVID vaccine deaths without proving it in any way. And there we go.
Yep.
Nothing is real.
Yeah, I really do appreciate everyone's staunch refusal to learn the most obvious and enduring lesson of all time, which is that there will be unintended consequences of all of this bullshit. And the COVID, while whatever it is level of, quote, we're done with it, as there may be, the reverberations of the behaviors during that time period are going to be echoing for decades. Like, we're in serious situations.
Yep. The unwillingness of people to take public health situations seriously.
Yeah.
The erosion of sort of public trust.
There's no trust in any government to, like, respond in any way to a problem.
Right. And good luck using individual solutions to solve population level problems.
Yep.
It's not going to work.
Nope. Yep.
So, Alex interviews people, and I don't care. One of them was Roger Stone.
Great.
I don't care. But before we get out of Saturday's episode, October 29th, that episode, we have a tortured metaphor.
Oh, no.
It's 3.5 minutes long.
Oh, no.
Alex is talking about Elon Musk.
Oh, God, no.
And he starts thinking about you judge a man by you judge a tree by its fruit.
Sure,
You know, that kind of thing.
Right.
And then he starts talking about literal trees and fruit.
Oh, no.
And boy, does this go on.
You have described the worst thing in history, a tortured metaphor from Alex, almost 4 minutes, about Elon Musk. That's the worst thing in the history of the world.
Yeah, he should have taken another day off.
Getting back to Elon Musk, I look at a tree by what fruits it bears. You know, I used to, before my ex-wife divorced me, have 9 acres out in the country outside Austin on Martin Creek. And we had a couple acres on one side of the creek and like 7 acres on the other side. Where folks we bought the house from had an apple, a plum, and a pear orchard. And we could get more apples and plums and pears than we could ever eat off of that 7 acres, about 4 acres of it, right in the middle of this. We didn't take care of them, we didn't fruit them, we didn't do anything. And I go over there all the time. Pull the way there at the creek. Walk on water, I drive a truck across, and I just load baskets with apples and plums and pears. Some other fruit up in.
You cannot be serious.
And the crazy thing was, you have a little tree next to a big one, but it would have twice as many plums on it, or twice as many pears on it, or apples. And sometimes you'd have one of the bigger trees that grew really big and strong and looked great, but it would have almost nothing on it. And that's what the Bible's talking about. Judging
What?
God's fruits. Look at this little tree, and it's loaded with apples, where it's almost way down to the ground. If you had one tree went down to the ground, you'd have so many apples on it, like 100 apples. We were making apple pies constantly, everything was Scotch out.
Is this story about stealing?
And the same thing for a plum tree. You'd have like a
This is not his
medium-sized
stuff.
plum tree, and then a big plum tree, and then you'd have a few plums from a big plum tree, and a whole bunch from a little. And it wasn't always like that. We had a few trees. Big trees were also loaded. You got to get a ladder up there and get them off. That's not what goal is.
Oh, it's not?
People ask me what I think of Elon Musk, and I try to be Christ-like. I don't claim to be very Christ-like. I try to be Christ-like, but I definitely follow the teachings of Christ.
Someone hit him with 100 apples.
My Savior, but let's just say this: Christ is never wrong. When I compare my thinking to Christ, that isn't from an arrogant perspective. It's very clear. But Christ said, "You judge a tree by its fruits." And so when I look at Elon Musk and the things he's done, promoting Neuralink and Starlink and all of it, that kind of weighs down him being a good guy on the side of bad. But then you look at coming out against the vaccine 2 years ago and saying, don't take it, start. Coming out against world government. Now coming out against the Ukraine war. Now coming out against censorship. Now saying we shouldn't get rid of fossil fuels, they're a good thing, we need them, alongside electric while we develop better systems, and that we will collapse if we don't have it. And just on and on and on, I look at the tree that is Elon Musk, and I say, this guy's getting better and better. And so, the good side of him way outsides the bad.
Don't worry, you're going to end up like him. He was an apartheid profiteer. His family is, that's his background. So you'll be fine. You'll like it.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't quite know what to do when anybody brings up Elon Musk without being like, what needs to happen is the entire population of the Earth needs to jump upon him and tear him limb from limb. Like, there's not much other things to say about him.
Or he needs to stack brush too close to Renee Moshe's yard.
Yes.
So, as usual...
You find ways to trick people into stacking brush too close to his yard.
So, as usual, Alex has completely misunderstood the Bible verse he claims that he bases a lot of his thinking around.
Yeah.
There are two verses that he's referencing here with the fruit of the trees. One of them is Luke 6:43 through 45, which says, quote, "For a good tree does not bear bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For men do not gather figs from thorns, nor do they gather grapes from a bramble bush. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good, and an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart brings forth evil." A similar passage is found in Matthew 7:15 through 20. Quote, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them." This appears in both Luke and Matthew because both those Gospels are largely believed to have been derived from a common source. That's a really complicated matter, so to stick to the simple stuff, Alex has no idea what these verses mean. Even in this long, meandering plum and apple story that he's telling, Alex offers two different interpretations of how you can tell a tree by its fruit, and they're both wrong in terms of what the Bible says.
Yep.
The first he presents is that you can tell how good a tree is, not by how big it is, but by the amount of fruit it produces. This is a fun way to think about plants, but it's not related to that scripture at all.
Nope.
The second version Alex comes up with is that you weigh the good fruit against the bad fruit in order to determine if the tree is good or bad.
Makes perfect sense.
This is also not what the Bible is saying. The real problem with this Bible verse is that it espouses an absolute that humans can't really live up to. Good trees produce good fruit, bad trees produce bad fruit, no good tree produces bad fruit, no bad tree produces good fruit. Therefore, if you produce bad fruit, you're a bad tree, and if you produce good fruit, you're a good tree.
Yeah, there's a reason that people like to think of it in a different way, because the other way of thinking about it, do you mean the more accurate way of thinking about it,
It's hard.
is
It's impossible.
predestination.
In this actual context, the verse is really unhelpful to Alex because it would require him to put definite labels on people which are rigid and cannot be changed. Alex can't work in that environment because he needs to be able to shift the allegiances of his imaginary allies and enemies depending on what headlines he needs to respond to. And if they're determined to be unwaveringly good or bad, it hurts his ability to make shit up as he goes along. This is all very stupid, and it illustrates how Alex's understanding of his holy text is really just surface level and mostly based on catchphrases he doesn't really grasp. And naturally, this is all really just a ramp up for Alex to explain that he'll determine whether or not Elon Musk is a good tree based on whether or not he lets Alex back on Twitter.
Yeah.
It's really what Jesus was talking about.
There you go.
You know, we'll see what fruits.
It is just impossible for him to understand the Bible in any other interpretation than capitalist. Like, because again, it's not about the type of fruit, really. This small tree's got 100 fruits, my man. That's better than the
It's a
big
good tree.
tree. That's a good tree. You know that's a good tree, so you sell those fucking fruits.
Well, if
you know?
if you have a plum tree that has like 100 fruit, right?
Yeah.
30 of them might be good, 70 bad. 30.
That's a bad
30.
tree.
No,
Yeah.
that's a good tree
Oh.
compared to a tree that puts out like
25, but
total. They're all good.
But that's
It's only
still,
25
yeah,
plums.
exactly.
Right.
You gotta invest in the bigger tree.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, this is what Jesus was talking about.
He's really describing an IPO for fruit orchards.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I agree.
Some of those like forbidden books in the Bible, this is what it gets into.
Yep.
Gets into like real calculus about fruits.
Yep.
Anyway, I decided to punt on covering the rest of this and move on to Sunday when Alex is maybe
Finer form.
yeah, it's sort of in mid-season form.
Gotcha.
He's gotten back in studio.
Back in the fastball range. Yeah, I gotcha.
And so here's where we started off on Sunday. I was wrong.
All right, I was already planning today, last night, this morning, to come in here on the special Sunday broadcast. And every broadcast is special. This is particularly
Every
special.
broadcast.
We're just talking about why there's a war on children and why the real currency of the satanic global elite minions is hurting and killing children. And then this afternoon, I was going through clips and doing research here about 3 hours ago at the office. I saw a clip of Laura Logan, the famous investigative journalist, literally demonizing and attacking now for coming out against the poison shots in the glove industry. And she was talking about why they target children as an affront to God. And that's really what it's all about. And then they're given basically evil rewards by the God of this world for what they do.
I'm not sure if the problem people had with Laura Logan was that she said there's a war on children and it's done as an affront to God. That kind of commentary probably would preclude her from being on a network that's trying to do serious work, but she was on Newsmax, so that's not a big deal there. Her comments were so inappropriate that Newsmax had to put out a statement saying they wouldn't interview her again. She was a guest on Eric Bolling's show, and she said, quote, "They may think that they're going to become gods. That's what they tell us. You know, the ones who want us eating insects, cockroaches, and that while they while they dine on the blood of our children, those are the people, right? They're not going to win." So Logan's blood libel-laden QAnon rant was just another step on her path to full-on public conspiracy lunatic, and a lot of people have this notion that she's fallen so far. She was formerly the chief foreign affairs correspondent at CBS News, which is a lofty position compared to someone no longer welcome on Newsmax, but the reality is she'd already fallen from grace. She was put on leave of absence by CBS in 2013 after an internal investigation found that her reporting on Benghazi was fraudulent and that, quote, key elements of the story were untrue. Her reporting relied heavily on a story told by a contractor named Dylan Davies, who was lying to her. Davies spun a story about how he'd gotten into combat during the attack and he'd seen Ambassador Stevens' body, but unfortunately he'd already told the FBI that he never left the villa that evening and that he hadn't been on the scene at all. Ouch. Logan did not follow up on details of Davies' story that would have indicated credibility problems. She also failed to disclose that he had a book deal selling his fraudulent story about what he did during the attack. Ouch. And these weren't the only problems. It was shitty work, and it's not the kind of mistake you would think would be made by someone who is otherwise good at their job. It's not a first-time mistake. It's very sloppy.
I would argue that maybe the simplest thing about an interview is to be like, hey, you know what? There's an FBI interview too. I'm going to go check that real quick and cross-reference it with the bullshit you're saying to me.
Yeah, even if you're not, like, even if you don't have the FBI interview available to you, there's other things you can do to, like, try and corroborate details.
Totally.
And be like, hey, is this guy just trying to get promotion for his book?
No, it's kind of like what, just off the top of my head, somebody like Alex might do is interview somebody who's completely lying about their credentials and then inflating it and then putting it out on TV.
I can see why he likes her.
Yeah.
So in the past few years, she's become just another raving nut that's allowed to spread nonsense on conservative platforms. She had a show on Fox Nation but was fired earlier this year, and now she's rambling about Q shit and blood libel with Eric Bolling and getting the boot from Newsmax. What I'm saying is that she's a prime candidate for Alex to hire, and I think it makes total sense for him to come to her defense. She's unwelcome anywhere else, and Alex could really use anybody with a little clout.
Totally.
Can't keep having Harrison Smith host everything, and oh god, if Alex has to take another workcation.
Ugh.
Got to get somebody in there.
It's just like, I wish it would be so much. It's so simple too, because it's just like, hey, do you know why their number one thing is attacking children? Because if I tell you that, then maybe it'll override your emotional center long enough that you won't think for 2 seconds and realize that I'm full of shit.
They wanna
and
drink
then
your
you'll
blood.
give me money. Ah, yay! That's why their enemy is children.
So we got some big news here.
Yeah.
That Alex is covering. Shocking if true, but also not true.
Diesel is set to run out somewhere around the 15th of November.
Wait,
we're
all
talking
diesel?
about 16,
Just all
17
diesel.
days. All diesel reserves and all diesel gone. That's what they estimate.
Okay.
At the local filling station, they will out of diesel
Sounds right.
by the 15th. That was reported by the federal government over a week ago. So now we're talking about 16 days, 17 days out. Depending on how you look at it, the 15th or the 16th of November, right after the midterm elections.
Oh my god.
Yep, there it is.
So this is stupid,
Yep.
and we're not going to run out of diesel fuel. Alex just saw Tucker tweet something that was incorrect, and now he's reporting on that tweet as if he's looked into the story at all. The comments that were made is that there's a 25-day supply of diesel fuel in the country, which was to say that if all production were to stop immediately, it would run out in 25 days. The thing is that production didn't stop, and it isn't stopping, so there's no date where the fuel is just going to be magically gone. An economics professor explained to CBS News that we generally have a supply that would last about 35 to 40 days out, but there's a tightening of supply and an increase of demand that's slightly lowering that window. But it'll adjust back eventually. The point is that diesel isn't running out. This is just a dumb lie Alex is using to scare his listeners. Also, let's be clear. If we had an impending date that was less than a month out where we would be entirely out of diesel fuel and we had no plan in place to adapt to that, that would be a catastrophe. Most of our trucking delivery folks rely on it to bring food around the country, among countless other goods that need to be transported. If these trucks all simultaneously became immobile, it's difficult to estimate the amount of death that could result in. Unthinkable.
If that were the case, that would be the only thing anyone was talking
You
about.
bet.
Everybody would be like, okay, just real quick, so everybody knows, in 3 weeks, we will starve to death.
In 3 weeks, we will have no trucks.
Without diesel,
All right.
we will all die.
If Alex believed this for a second, he would be freaking the fuck out. And
Yeah.
not just reporting this as some kind of weird conspiracy
I'd
about
be
the
freaking the
elections.
fuck out.
Yeah. Oh, it's about the midterms.
I'd be like, no, this month we're all gonna die.
He knows this is meaningless,
Yeah.
but the audience doesn't stick around unless you give them ample reason to be scared, so he just tosses this bullshit on the pile knowing it means nothing. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This show is so
I
dumb.
mean, that is absolutely just like, hey, here's a story that's kind of gone unreported. The Midwest won't have corn next week. Like, no, I'm sorry. That would not go unreported.
Here's a story that everybody is missing out on. A giant meteor about to hit Earth, and
Yep.
we can all see it with
Yep,
our eyes.
yep.
Okay.
Hey, come on now. Let's not steal too many movie plots.
So, the story that is on everybody's mind, of course,
Yes.
Pelosi.
Yeah.
So we got to touch back on this one.
And that all ties into Pelosi's husband. We have the 911 tape.
Still
It's not a
doesn't.
right-wing rumor. Both men were in their underwear. The police held it up till today. They released the 911 call on Friday, but it got no attention. But today, the San Francisco police released the fact that Mr. Pelosi and the man half his age, who was a hippie from a nudist colony, not a right-winger, were in his bedroom, both in their underwear, with hammers, when someone else let the police in. And they had the 911 call where Pelosi said, I'm here with, and named the man, my friend, and he's attacking me. So Pelosi is circling the toilet bowl very, very quickly, 87 years old. And we got two dudes in their underwear in a bedroom with hammers. And
Sounds
they're
fun.
desperate to try to call this the new January 6th.
Who is?
It's incredibly ill.
What?
Exactly.
When?
These people operated. They put up fake websites Friday saying he was a right-winger. Turns out those are fake. I guess those are fake news, too, that Pelosi got arrested drunk. These people are just absolutely slaves of the system.
Amazing. So I love the idea that there's that two dudes naked with hammers. You do the math.
If-
As if it's like, okay,
I-
well, yeah, of course.
I
well,
mean,
they have hammers.
Well, I mean, if there's two dudes naked with hammers, somebody's gonna go to the hospital.
We all know.
We've all been there.
We all know what it means when there's naked dudes with hammers. It's a story as old as time.
That is such a like, oh, there's probably something sexual going on there. Is his intimation? It's like, I have never heard of two dudes naked with hammers. None.
It's classic hammer
I've
play.
been on the internet since I was 14 years old. Believe me, if there was a two dudes naked with hammers thing, I would at least know about it by now. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Okay.
So there's no evidence that Pelosi and DePape were in their underwear when the police arrived. Pelosi was asleep when DePape broke into the house, so he was in a pajama shirt and boxer shorts, so you could say that's his underwear. Initial reporting from KTVU Fox 2 had incorrectly said that DePape was in his underwear, but this was a misunderstanding of him being in his shorts.
Right.
Paul Pelosi answered the door, but the phrasing of the initial police report, it didn't specify who had answered the door, leading right-wing media figures to just assume that it must have meant there was a third person there.
Of course.
There was not, and Alex is just reporting that based on nothing. Maybe he saw a meme, who knows? The websites and writings that were found, created by DePape, were not fake. He did have a bit of a hippie phase back in like 2013, but had since descended deeply into extreme right-wing bullshit, much of which matches up pretty well with the stuff Alex yells about every day.
Yep.
He had a blog where he explained that he was radicalized by Gamergate, as is the case for so many ding-dongs, and after that point he went off the conspiracy deep end. He has posts including climate change denial, transphobia, nonsense about the Great Reset, Second Amendment fears, 2020 election conspiracies, and of course Holocaust denial. It's fair enough to say that he had a phase where he was into a presumably left-wing hippie nudist lifestyle, but that ended a long time ago. I'm not sure if anyone really wants to call this the new January 6th. It's an act that's on a completely different scale from a mob invading the Capitol, but it would also be dishonest to not recognize some important similarities. Both events involved someone targeting Nancy Pelosi, at least in some capacity they were motivated by conspiracy bullshit about the election being stolen. Both events involved people bringing zip ties, which gives some indication of an intent to take hostages. Honestly, the people who responded to this in the same way they did to January 6th are folks like Alex. The same knee-jerk denial is being employed because this attack threatens him in a way that's the same as January 6th did. It can't be allowed to be seen as the natural conclusion to his ideology and rhetoric, because then as a society we might wake the fuck up and start taking this stuff seriously. The extreme right-wing community learned their lesson from how huge a setback the Oklahoma City bombing was to the ability for militia groups and extremist cells to organize, and they don't want to have to do that work again of re-normalizing themselves.
Right.
So they don't want something to be very well understood to be like, oh yeah, this is kind of what you're going to end up this is the end result of this.
Yeah. I think for me, like, I do feel somewhat for the propagandists and the stochastic terrorists.
Won't somebody think of the propaganda?
It's just too easy now. You know, like, all they had to do was throw out a little homophobia, and then everybody's like, "Oh, well, the Pelosi's are all liars." That's it. Come on.
Yeah.
I want a higher class of criminal here.
No, totally. And I think that, it's one of the reasons why a lot of these folks don't really interest me that much.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of these folks who are sort of newer in the propaganda game. One element is the trolley aspect of it. I just find uncharming.
Yeah.
But then the other part is that it's just so fucking easy.
Yeah.
You know, at least, with Alex, there's an underpinning of this, JBS inspired anti-communism,
Sure.
the white identity kind of religious beliefs and the militia movement of the 90s that he's still connected to.
Right.
There's
He's connected to the past and the present, which is
it's someone who was a higher class of criminal who has descended into just being a trolley bullshit.
I mean, it is kind of an interesting, like, we have somewhat tracked the fall of not just Alex, but all of right-wing propaganda, really. It's pathetic.
It is.
It
and
just
and
is.
it's also pathetic that it still is effective.
Yeah, that's the
Even
worst
in its
part.
pathetic shape.
That's
it's
the
still,
worst part.
Yeah.
You know, the reason it's pathetic is because they found out you really didn't have to try that hard.
You know, if there's infinite universes, there's got to be one where Alex stuck to his guns and didn't take the bait on, like, meme shit and hanging out with people like Carpe Donkdom. And, like, you know, that's a better world.
Yeah. What you gonna do?
Alex has done some interviews.
Okay.
I haven't heard any of these, and I don't believe they exist.
Infowars.com, this broadcast is bigger than it's ever been. I have done hundreds of interviews in the last month, and hundreds more I didn't have the time to interview to do. And all of these different big broadcasters saying, we apologize, you were right. The New World Order's real. They want to force me to attack us, coming after our children.
Wait, what?
Building COVID camps. What do we do?
Who are these people?
What just happened?
Who are these interviews that he's done on these major platforms who are apologizing to them?
He made a lot of claims quickly
Yeah.
that are absolutely insane.
I can't imagine any of that's true.
No.
I'm interested in seeing these interviews.
I mean, there's hundreds of them. Frankly, you can't shake a stick without hitting an interview that Alex has done, and yet somehow, none. I have seen none.
Yeah, I mean, the workcation, you
Yeah.
know, was hundreds of interviews.
I guess.
I guess maybe it's like hundreds of interviews with his lawyers.
Yeah,
I'm
he
sorry,
probably
Alex.
should have just done ayahuasca or something. You know, go on a vision journey, do something along those lines. Really figure shit out.
I'm sure Mancow could hook him up.
Totally.
He got into that for a bit.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So this next clip, I think, is actually it's super revealing, and I think bums me out a lot.
Thank the listeners and viewers and the crew for being so steadfast in this fight, because we're being vindicated and we have a good chance of stopping the globalists together. And by the day, more and more people shift their perspective from being a nice, good person, which you still are, but to thinking like a globalist and reading their own documents and understanding just how evil they are. It's hard to get your mind around, but once you see things through their eyes, there's no putting the genie back in the bottle.
This is how Alex gets away with the fact that his primary sources don't say what he claims they do. You can't read a document and just think it means what it says. No. Before you read it, you need to run that document through the globalist filter. A Homeland Security paper might suggest extending refugee status to a larger number of people, and you could accept that means that the author is suggesting that the U.S. should extend refugee status to a larger number of people. But if you're able to think like a globalist, then you can clearly see that what they're really suggesting is that hundreds of millions of unvetted immigrants should be ushered into the country so they can be foot soldiers of the Democratic Party. Think like a globalist.
Yeah.
The game is really transparent, but honestly, I haven't heard Alex express it quite like this very often. You can't just read things. You have to read them using code. And for an added bonus, Alex has just made up these globalists and imagined what their plans are, so guess who gets to be the sole arbiter of how the code is translated?
It's really nice. It's really convenient.
Once an audience accepts this kind of bullshit, they're essentially allowing one demagogue to be their sole contact point with reality. Alex has appointed himself as the person who will have what amounts to the final say on whether something is real or not, in essence demanding that the audience subordinate their own senses to him.
Right.
It's really pretty abusive, but on the other hand, it's just dumb. Context is important, and understanding the jargon that's used in various fields is critical to understanding how to read documents, but pretending that they're written in some kind of a sneaky code that only Alex's dumb ideology can unlock, that's a kid's game. He might as well tell the audience that he has a signed confession from Klaus Schwab, but it's written in invisible ink. Another critical issue is that Alex is basically the worst person you can trust about whether or not something is real. He's been completely wrong about pretty much every world event I can think of, and he lacks basic reading comprehension skills.
Hi.
He lies about his own past actions.
Yeah, so I got headphones on
constantly.
with my Gary
He's
Minute
been
podcast, so I
plagiarizing
can't really
documents
hear it.
multiple times, including the
tell.
Soros Antifa contracts that one of his employees found on 4chan that he has to this day never issued a correction for. Thinking like a globalist just means accepting Alex's version of reality despite what your eyes tell you. It's bullshit.
Two things. First, 90% of what you just said also applies to the Pope. Second, I think one of the other things in there that he accidentally revealed is just that, listen, once you get this, you'll go from being a nice person I mean, you'll still be nice, which is a good way of saying you're going to become more violent if you start behaving and thinking the way that I've described over time. But like, he's literally saying, if you do this right, eventually you will break into Paul Pelosi's house.
You will become able to look at primary documents and find rationalizations to break into
Exactly. Yes.
Pelosi's house.
Absolutely. He's just saying it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a mess, and I think that's really an important aspect to understand, and it's one of the reasons why it's deeply frustrating to be able to like fact check stuff and look at like where you're getting these ideas from. It's like that doesn't say that at all. Haha, it doesn't need to.
Yeah.
And I wonder if it even applies to the Bible. Honestly,
It does.
Uh,
Especially the Pope. Beavers are fish.
no, I mean for Alex.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
I mean, like the globalists didn't write the Bible.
No,
I hope.
no.
He doesn't think that.
Well, they might have.
I don't know.
The people who say that Jesus himself did write the Bible are globalists.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Fruits.
Exactly.
Anyway, Alex has done hundreds of interviews. Sure. People have apologized. Infowars is bigger than ever.
I don't know how any of that can be true, but I believe it.
They're bigger than ever in terms of judgments against them.
That's fair.
no
That
one's
is
ever
fair.
had that.
They are about as in debt as you possibly could be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so Alex wants to talk about how big they are.
Very powerful report that needs to go viral at banned.video. Remember, we built banned.video because they banned people all over the place. We have hundreds and hundreds of great contributors reaching millions of people a day. Not just with our videos, but the other videos are getting millions of views a day. Really active. Some of the videos get 4, 5, 6, 8 million views apiece. On average, my videos get about 100,000 views, dozens a day.
Yeah. No, that's a bit of an exaggeration. Pretty much everything about that. Alex's views are about 200,000 for his shows, and if he has some like really flashy, shorter video, maybe it'll do some numbers.
Sure.
But yeah, in the Saturday shows, they actually do get a bigger crowd because they're not on the radio, so it's a bottleneck.
Right,
Places
right.
to see them. Still, generally, those are often under 1 million. From there, we see a big drop-off. Harrison Smith's American Journal is typically between 10 and 15,000 views, which is a disaster. Owen's War Room usually hovers around a little over 30,000, which is similarly awful for what they're doing. Greg Reese's special reports often get between 500,000 and 1 million views, which I believe is the highest consistent viewership of the InfoWars in-house team. Wow. Paul Joseph Watson has a minuscule amount of viewers because he's still on other platforms, and why would you go to Alex's site when you can get that shit somewhere else? Same thing with Roger's channel. None of the episodes of the Stone Zone that he's posted in the past month have over 600 views, which is because he's primarily on Frank's Speech now. People just go there. And most of the other shit on this website is a ghost town. Gerald Salenti has a channel and no one cares. Tommy Robinson has a channel and no one cares. Ouch. Someone named Allison.
Tommy Robinson has a channel?
Yeah.
Isn't he in jail?
He was for a bit. He might be out now.
Okay.
Everyone's forgotten about it.
All right, that's fair.
Someone named Allison has something called Allison's Rage page, which is a 0. David Icke and his son both have channels which are going nowhere.
Now I'm interested in Allison's rage.
I was too.
now I'm
And then I lost interest very
very quickly, almost immediately.
Yeah. Honestly, many of these channels aren't even actively posting stuff. Probably because people thought they'd give it a whirl and then they realized it wasn't worth it. It's a dismal situation over there. And if Alex is paying as much as he claims he is for bandwidth,
He's losing a lot of money.
oh man.
Not a good idea.
Oh man.
Pay way less. Woo! Downsize.
Don't
You know?
don't pay for Allison's Rage page.
It's hard not to think that one of the biggest problems with InfoWars is just overhead. It's just overhead.
Hey, look, I wanna cut some corners here, but we gotta post the new video from Salty Cracker.
You know, if you
We
really
gotta post the new video of the guy who dresses like Uncle Sam and yells at people on the street.
if you really stop and think about it, maybe if the overhead wasn't so high, they wouldn't have chased after so many of these false flag stories so hard to get money, and then where would we be now? Keep a low profile.
Yeah.
Podcast.
Good work.
Yep.
I don't think that Owen or Harrison would be getting much more views if they did a podcast.
I don't think so either.
Oof.
Yeah.
Man.
Wouldn't have to pay him $100,000 though.
Ooh. So, Alex is, if he's one thing, he's consistent. That's not true. But he is consistently wrong.
Yes, that is true.
About stories. And when he's wrong about something, he likes to continue to be wrong about it.
Yeah.
And so he talks a little bit more about Paul Pelosi.
Smart.
So I'm going to say this right now. All the other huge economy news, Russian war news, Pelosi really having an attack on the House. somebody to take on the ADL to the Primary Law Center, to take on the big media, big tech, all of it, we're doing it. So, we are recognized by the globalists as the biggest threat to their criminal enterprise. And so I know most of the listeners get this, but I want to really sink into the masses of people that tune in here and never spread the word, or never go buy a book or a supplement or a film or a T-shirt. We don't have George Soros and the New World Order funding us.
We have negative $1 billion.
Yeah.
So, you know, you got a sales pitch here that comes off the continuing the Paul Pelosi stuff. Although I do like the idea that he's calling it an operation.
Yeah.
A gay hammer drug orgy operation.
Right.
What would that be?
You know what it is.
I don't.
It's a gay hammer drug orgy operation.
Classic.
I don't know how to put those words together in a way that makes more sense to you.
I'm going to need you to work on it because
I'm gonna
still
try.
confused.
Yeah.
So, Alex, I mostly kept that clip in for the operation word, and then Alex weaving it into an ad pitch.
Of course.
Because I wanted to play this. I just thought this was silly.
You need to experience this. Most people have iodine deficiency. This iodine's a benefit. You get the food. You do this. It's a game changer. It takes 2 weeks to kick in. Something like Rainforest Ultra kicks in 15 minutes. It's incredible. Focus, nootropic, like nothing we've ever taken. Mental focus, clarity. It's like a, for me, it's like a intellectual aphrodisiac.
Just tell me it's cocaine.
And
That's all I want to know.
It's a very special formula. Nobody else has got it. Then you got Rainforest
Except for the
Plus,
Colombians.
which is good, clean, very strong, healthy nootropic. Lasts 5 to 6 hours. Turbo Force is still sold out. Hopefully it comes in soon. It's 10 hours of insane Tyrannosaurus Rex, Godzilla, and Kong energy. But they're all different formulas.
Why are you
What is this
explaining your
product?
different kinds of speed?
I've got a bunch of different highs for you. I got a tackle box open.
All right,
Here,
all right.
this is a hybrid.
How long do you want the high to last?
Exactly. That's
You wanna
what's
be-
happening.
You want to be speedy for 3 hours, or do you want Tyrannosaurus Rex for 10? This is a mess.
That's so funny. Oof. Oh my god.
So back to Pelosi.
Sure.
I don't know.
And the police didn't tell us until today that they found both men in their underwear in Paul Pelosi and Nancy Pelosi's bedroom. She was off in D.C. So I guess when the cats play, the mice play. And
What?
more and more like some type of homosexual interlude or rendezvous. And with Paul Pelosi, at least one the kid was
Fuck you. Fuck you.
But my issue here is how they spun the whole thing, put up fake websites that he's a right winger, he was a leftist, nudist, big Democrat supporter on record. That's all been confirmed. The websites put up Friday saying he's a right wing QAnon person are not true.
Oh, you don't like the spin? You don't like the spin?
No, see, the problem with the spin is that the United States media is not reporting on a gay hammer orgy situation.
Operation.
Operation. It should be an operation.
It's an operation.
It's an operation.
For sure.
I mean, that is so fucking awful.
It's a classic false flag, gay hammer, orgy, drug-fueled operation.
It is like, I don't know how to be angrier that you can just say like, see, it looks like it was gay. Guess what? Now we can still be terrorists. That's so fucking, and it doesn't even make sense. If you're telling me there's a hostage situation and both men are in their underwear with hammers, I'm thinking that the guy who took hostages is a weird guy who made him get in his underwear and then got in his own underwear and gave him a hammer.
I think that would be an important thing to rule out before you jump to the other assumption.
It wouldn't be like, oh, well, this hostage situation was just a regular situation gone wrong.
Right.
I would be like, this is a hostage situation going the way it was going to go.
And I mean, I think if you have misgivings about details and information that's there, pump the brakes.
Maybe.
You know, like, I think you can be curious without doing what Alex is doing. You know, like he's lamenting the spin while spinning so so fast.
And it just an explicitly homophobic, anti-LGBTQ plus way as a way of denigrating them for a thing that he is fucking responsible for.
Well, and like, let's not forget also smearing a victim of a violent crime. It's like not the smearing part of it being like a gay thing. It's the smearing of it. It's like he was a victim of
He
a
was a
crime.
victim
and
of a
you're turning
crime.
him into a participant.
Again, it is such like fucking crazy that you can override people's brains that easily with being like, oh, so he's probably gay. Because that doesn't make any sense.
Well, here's the thing. I think that there is a lot of that going around.
Sure.
But I think Alex is kind of more focused on the hammer part. And
Well, I guess that's a plus.
it's yeah, sure. Okay.
When Paul Pelosi called 911, we're going to play that tape for you here in a moment.
Still doesn't have that tape.
He said, I know the man, and listed his name. So he knows the man and lists his name, then tells us, actually, I don't know him. When he figures out how that sounds,
Completely made up.
and the police are obviously controlling the Democrats there in San Francisco, then will respond right to the crime.
Yeah. Cops. Notoriously
Until
Democrat.
Sunday to release today that Pelosi is refusing to release surveillance footage to them, and Paul Pelosi was in his underwear in a bedroom with him, and that he'd gone in the bathroom and called the police, but then come back out and joined the man. Then they began to hit each other with hammers again.
Again?
And the police aimed guns at him and said, put your hammer down. And the younger man did not put his hammer down and continued to try to attack Pelosi.
Hey,
But they
what?
didn't shoot him because they could obviously tell this was some kind of weirdo stuff going on. This has come out now.
How?
This is some classic weirdo stuff.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Look, I mean, we talked about this a little bit earlier. I mean, I don't want to kink shame, but I don't think there's a lot of hammer play going
There's
on.
not a lot of hammer play.
But what about the prospect of like hot construction daddies? Like, what about that?
The idea that you could listen to a man say that out loud and not go, well, send him to Coyote Land or something along those lines. Like, put him out into the wild.
Alex isn't a weirdo. They're the weirdos.
That's crazy.
Engaging in hammer play.
It's crazy. The idea that he went into the bathroom and called 911 and then
Alright.
came back out and then they began hitting each other with hammers again. You don't get to hit multiple times with hammers.
I think you could in some body parts. Certainly not the
There.
head. The
I'm
head,
just-
it's usually one.
Oh man. Oh man.
Yep. But look, Alex puts a number on this.
And
He
then
has,
the cops didn't shoot them because they were like, oh, this is the fourth hammer fuck we've run onto this week.
Just some weirdo stuff.
I'm sick of being in San Francisco with all these hammer fuckers.
So Alex puts a number on this about his percent chance certainty
Sure.
about his narrative.
Okay.
So, what do you want to bet? This never hits court, and this gets quietly handled. Two men in their underwear with hammers in a bedroom. There's a full police press conference on this, but you've got to really dig to find it. You can play the whole thing. The police have guns on them. Both men, Pelosi, Paul Pelosi and the police have guns in him. The police come in. With hammers. Not someone breaking in saying where's
Very blackout stuff. 99% chance.
I mean, I can't find a way in my brain to jump. Like, here's my jump. If I break into a room and there's two men naked, like wearing their underwear with both of them having hammers, brandishing them towards each other, my thought is not like, oh, they're probably having some sort of sex game. My thought is like, this is like hour 5 of some sort of fight. like a Family Guy cartoon fight that lasted over 6 seconds, and over time their clothes ripped off as time went on until they wound up here, like with hammers. Like that's the only thing that makes
I think
sense
it's
to me.
more reasonable than Weird Wacko stuff. Also, just I can't get over the fact that Alex keeps saying 2 men in their underwear with hammers.
Not like
it's
I'm
like
supposed to know that.
you do the math.
I mean, no.
What?
What are you talking about?
The implications are clear. So Alex continues his streak of being completely wrong about things he gives a 99% chance of being right about. David DePape has actually he's been arrested, he confessed to a crime, and he's going to jail for a long time.
Yeah.
He's charged with, quote, 1 count of assault on an immediate family member of a U.S. official with the intent to retaliate against the official on account of the performance of official duties, which could land him 30 years.
Yeah, that's a crime that governments like to take seriously.
Yeah.
Don't attack us.
For doing our job.
Yeah.
Then there's the attempted kidnapping of a U.S. official to retaliate charge that could add another 20 years.
Sure.
Alex is having a real good fun time with this whole gay hammer fetish thing he's doing, but this is
Yeah.
serious. Like,
Yeah.
This is serious stuff. Also, on that last clip, Alex said that they are refusing to turn over the security camera footage to the police, and that's completely made up.
Yeah.
Alex is reporting based on some dumb shit he saw on social media, but Politico reached out to police, and PolitiFact spoke to Pelosi's spokesperson, and they both said that claim was false. Right. So he's wrong about everything.
Everything.
Like every detail he's reporting about this story in order to cast suspicion on it is wrong.
It's just fiction.
Yeah.
Just complete fiction. You're not even spinning a conspiracy with anything to it.
Nope.
Pathetic.
Yep. It's a completely alternative reality.
Yep.
Denise, you got it. Sure.
Is the unnamed person let in the police? If I had to speculate, it's not hard to speculate if you've studied the lifestyles of these folks. They were both on cocaine or meth,
What?
and they were going crazy, doing God knows what to each other. And one of them got pissed off the other one. And things went haywire really, really, really quick. And if you question that, you're called a conspiracy theorist. Well, all they do is lie to us. All they do is have a history of fraud. So we would be insane if we didn't question what's going on here. There's some of the memes that came out.
Oh, good.
Oh my God.
Oh, good.
I want to start a war.
So, you might think that Alex is being homophobic by saying studying the lifestyles of these people leads you to believe that they're on meth or on coke. But what you don't understand is he's talking about the lifestyles of hammer people.
Yeah, I mean, globalists.
Like the Hammer Brothers
Tell
and the
me,
Mario
tell
Brothers.
me.
They were super
Disagree
into
with
meth.
You know what? Fine. If you have studied these lifestyles, give me one other example of a hammer sex fight. I just want an example of a hammer sex fight.
MC Hammer.
Okay. All right. MC Hammer
I'm out.
versus
I don't know.
Doris Day.
MC Hammer versus Jim the Anvil Neihart. No, that's an anvil, not a hammer.
No,
Shit.
no. Who's the other hammer? Oh, whose nickname is the Hammer in some sort
Ooh,
of sport?
Adam Carolla had a movie called The Hammer.
There you go.
Adam Goldberg had the Hebrew Hammer.
That's true.
All of these things could be
There
connected.
it is. We're all now. It's making sense.
I'm just pissed that I already used the Hammer Brothers.
Yeah, I know. You had it right there.
So Alex says he's questioning, but this isn't questioning anything. This is Alex lying about misreported details and bullshit memes he's seen on right-wing social media, which he's then laundering into being stuff that's been concretely reported by the police. It's fine to question things and retain an open mind until you hear more details about situations, but that is not what Alex is doing. He's constructing an alternative reality based on nothing for his audience to live in so they don't have to realize how much they have in common with the guy who tried to kidnap the Speaker of the House. It isn't good for business for Alex to let his audience realize how far down the extremist road he's taken them. Because you might wake up and be like, oh shit. You might look around and look to your left or look to your right. Two of these people are Nazis.
Yeah. Yep.
It could be a crystallizing wake-up moment.
And you're wearing an SS badge, and you're like, oh no!
So Elon Musk, guy whose tree fruits will be determined at a later date.
Send upon him like zombies.
He did some stuff with this Pelosi story.
Elon Musk fact-checked Hillary about the truth.
Stop that.
Elon Pelosi attacked. Elon is right. then here's some of the memes. On Pelosi crime scene. Way to go.
Memes. Elon Musk didn't fact check Hillary. He posted a link to an article from a fake news outlet called the Santa Monica Observer. It's a publication that has reported in the past that Hillary Clinton was dead back in 2016 and that Trump had appointed Kanye West to a high-level post in the Department of the Interior, and also that Bill Gates caused COVID.
Oh, so they're just a few years early.
Yeah. Musk was understandably embarrassed when this stuff was pointed out about the thing he linked to, so he deleted the tweet, and he didn't learn a single lesson. So, fact check.
Yeah, it's great having billionaires run everything and rule the world.
So Alex whiffed on this Pelosi story, I'm going to say that.
Yeah, it's a good start.
But there's other news that's really important. Like, Russia, they have proof that the United Kingdom blew up the pipeline.
That sounds right.
Yeah, the Russians officially say they have evidence that the British military blew up the Nord Stream 2. And there's a big viral video. One version of that has million views. Whether it's about pushing against vaccinations, promoting illness shows, Kyrie Irving doesn't care about the impact of his words. He's just a wealthy, entitled individual who wants the benefits of existing in a society without responsibilities. And so they're demonizing him. He's responded to tweeting this video that actually has million views. It's got, I mean, some versions have 15 million views. There's dozens of versions of millions of views. The same with Sanders has got 100 million views. And it's 20 years ago, a minute and a half clip where I was laying out the future and what would be unfolding. So I thought we'd actually play the clip everybody's talking about. And that Kyrie Irving did not apologize for posting on his Instagram.
Yeah, so Russia has proof that the UK did that shit with the pipelines, but more importantly, a basketball player talked about me and
Yeah. If the UK
so weird. You know, Alex is one of these guys who doesn't really care when he comes up in the media. He doesn't care when he doesn't. You know, it's not a big deal. He's so used to people like
hundreds of interviews.
Oh my God, so many.
Unlike you.
And he never likes to talk about himself. Like on the show, he doesn't want to like.
It's not about him. It's about the movement.
Right. Now,
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving.
Wow.
It's really cool. He posted my thing, and then people were mad at him.
Sure.
Oof.
Well, I
So we're
mean,
gonna spend a lot of time on that.
NATO and the UK committed an explicit war act towards Russia. Fine. But, I mean, we got to deal with the here and now. That's like future news, man.
Right. And the here and now is I have a lot of views on my video.
Exactly.
So we have one last clip here, Jordan, because, you know, look, this show is really stupid. But Alex isn't the only thing making a return on this episode. He came back on Saturday, and on Sunday, I'm very thrilled to see something that has been MIA for a long time.
Uh-oh. Oh, yeah! We're back! We're back, baby! You can feel it! You can see it!
Yeah, you can.
You can be!
kind of envy you because you don't have to watch this.
Pretty much always true on good show.
I was gonna say, yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds right.
I do appreciate the let it
Let it
breathe
ride,
for a
yeah.
long time.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got some Glenn Fry coming back. Also, you know who the enemy is? It's Don Henley.
It always was.
Yeah,
It always was.
Nice to feel that bop come back.
That
you know?
was good.
Yep.
I am shocked to say how refreshing that felt.
Yeah, real good. Not his best work
No.
over in Washington City, but man, oh man, like a breath of that fresh stuff.
Yeah, he's just getting back. You know, it takes a while before you're ready to really hit You Belong to the City. You know, you gotta do some classic Highwaymen before you can really hit You Belong to the City.
Well, and I mean, if I can be blunt, he set the bar pretty high. Like some of those other You Belong to the City
That's
rants were like he should not have
It's
built
his best
the
work.
expectation.
Yeah, it's his best work.
Yeah.
Honestly, of all the things that Alex Gunn does go down in history for, I will give him some of those rants over You Belong to the City.
I've done 100 interviews in the past month,
That's true.
mostly about Alex's rants over You Belong to the
You've had a lot of people apologize to you in the past. Yep.
So, yeah, we check back in here and we see Alex come back from his work vacation.
Amazing.
Lie his ass off about Pelosi and a hammer operation.
Yep.
And, yeah, that's about what you'd expect. It had been forever since we talked about Alex in the present day. He
Yeah.
was deprived of it because of his workcation.
Of
But,
course.
you know, I feel like sour grapes a little bit. It's returned.
Yep.
So, we will be back next week with some episodes. I believe how we're going to end up doing it is we'll finish up the deposition stuff on Wednesday.
Sure.
Check back in, continue to see a little bit more of Alex's present day stuff, see if we can catch up a little.
Naturally.
The gap. But also, I don't want to disappoint people because, you know, we talked about how there's 4 days of deposition. 2 of them are not as meaningful.
Sure.
As so, there's really only going to be 2 episodes worth of stuff, and
Right.
I hope no one.
Right. Well, I mean,
Comes
we
at
could
me
be
with a hammer for
we
that.
could be like other more professional shows that would be like teasing it out in advance, you know, like making it an event, as opposed to just being like, hey, that thing that everybody loves, we're just going to throw that out on our Wednesday episode for fun. You know? Yeah. That's not how we do it.
It's not a great business model, but it is what it is.
It's worked so far.
Yeah. Sure
Well.
has. Anyway, we'll be back, Jordan. But until then, we have a website.
We do. It's knowledgefight.com.
Yep, we're also on Twitter.
We are on Twitter. It's at knowledge_fight.
And
Oh my God, I'm not doing it. I
Yeah, you
keep
are.
fucking doing it. I
Yeah, you
can't
are.
stop. I have a terrible addiction.
but you also finally got a
Oh yeah.
response from Glenn Greenwald
What a fucking
your other
coward. Yeah.
account that has no followers.
Happy to reply to a 122 follower account. Yep.
Yeah.
Such a courageous man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anyway, we'll be back. But until then, I'm Leo of DCX Clark. I have a houseboat in my mind.
Ooh, I like that. A mind boat.
This is no good. I had a
Now, here comes the sex robot. Andy in Kansas, you're on the air. Thanks for holding.
Hello, Alex. I'm a first-time caller. I'm a huge fan. I love your work.
I love you.
And that was beautiful. Okay, hey, listen. That ribbon, check it out. How you didn't go? Thank you, everybody. Hour 2, minute 12 of Pirates of the Caribbean. See one of the pirates. There you go. You stand still. My arms. Oh. I don't know any. Welcome back, shoppers. I'm sure you're all very excited that we've reopened. Or more likely, you don't care at all, because it's just a store.
Hey baby,
Yeah,
how you doing?
gonna go about 5 minutes left.
Don't make it special. I wish I was special,
I always see their blinkers.
but I'm not free. I'm always.
What are you waiting for? Oh.
What the hell am I doing here?
Radio thing? No. It's the MC.
For cabinet here, and
Also alive and not dead. Nobody We're definitely close enough. The doors up. One of the best friends. Oh! What? I'm leaving. You too. How's it going? I think it's very, very likely that he is still alive. People are upset about his appearance and take a break for a while.
Oh.
Thank you.
Yeah. As long as you need me, okay? Listen, for those who mourn,
Sorry.
I just get the first.
Right. Oh, wait, we can't. He's smeared all over the Midwest.
Your code, ladies. How are you? Well, are you always? I'm not with that. Hey. It's your own thing.
I mean,
Maybe she's.
oh, see.
all customers. Don't shelter. Now, people, let's go! Move, Grandpa!
Oh, she's thinking that to the oven.
I'm sorry for the false alarm. No trouble with your family.
Now, better say sorry, so no apology.
I apologize.
I'm asking them to stop.
Anyway, please enjoy it. Oh, get them while they're hot. On the 13th. Good luck.
So you were here then when Garrett from Cards during the World Series. I was having an affair with Ozzie Smith, the wizard, Mr.
Wow, no kidding. So,
It wasn't real.